everybody. It's Joyce at Medusa Was Framed. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am once again hanging out here with my super good friend, Andrew Zebrun III. Andrew, thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Joyce. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? I got my core shirt on to celebrate our suffering.
Oh my God, I just realized I didn't put in my headphones. Let me do that real quick. It will improve the audio on my end.
Go right ahead.
There we go. I didn't have them in, but I wanted to put them in for you guys. So Andrew and I just like to chit chat, and you know, he lives up in the Buffalo area. I live down here in St. Augustine, and we've both gotten a lot of comments on well, I've done 2 videos now about Buffalo and the Pan American exhibition. I've gotten emails, comments, all kinds of stuff. I think Andrew's gotten some stuff too. And Andrew is just a freaking wealth of information, given that he has lived his whole youthful life up in the area. And so I thought it would be fun to just spend an hour looking at some pictures of Buffalo. And, you know, I will talk about some of those things from a perspective of reset architecture, whatever you want to call it, Tartaria, mud flood, and Andrew is going to do that too. So we're just going to spend a little time looking at the beauty in Buffalo. And yeah, let's start here, since this is the first picture that came up. Andrew, you want to give folks?
We got the gold dome bank here, guys. I watched them put a new gold layer on this in the 1980s.
Really?
Yeah, it took them a year. There was workmen up on that dome hanging off of it for a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, they used real gold.
So, and you pointed out, so those of you that have either seen my video or seen the video that Andrew and I did together about the Pan American exhibition 1901 in Buffalo, the primary building and showcase of the fair was what they called the Electric Tower, which the city tried to save, but they weren't able to come up with the money to pay the demo company to save it, so they tore it down. But something that I learned in my research, and it's in my video, is that the city, I believe it was in the early 20s, Andrew, if that sounds right, they rebuilt it. They rebuilt a replica in a different part of town. This is not where the fair was. This here, the top, is very similar, but the rest of it is not at all similar, but the top is similar. And do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, they use this building, well, they used to, for New Year's Eve. They used to have a ball drop off of this building.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they quit doing it, but I used to attend with my children back in the 90s. It was fabulous. It was carnival atmosphere. I took my kids down there. We had a ball. It was cold, you know, Buffalo. And
yeah, really cold.
But they had indoor activities for the kids. And I don't think they do stuff like that anymore. It's really sad. This was the 90s. They had porta potties out there. The crowd was tremendous. You would not believe it. So I don't think they use it anymore, but it's a celebrated building in Buffalo.
So I just want to say, from a Tartarian perspective, that building was not built in the 20s. There's no way in hell. You chime in as you want, Andrew. That's an old Mercury tower. There would have been a spire right there. They enclosed all of these. These might have been bell towers or receptacles for other Mercury balls and such. Or what are those 3 balls that are at the bottom of those old-fashioned German clocks? That technology. Do you remember remember what that technology is called? They spin around. Something like that could have been in this big one. This was definitely a Mercury tower. It could have been all three had Mercury balls, but this building was not built in the 20s. No, no, no. And you see all these plasma collectors up here?
Mm-hmm.
That all would have been open. And it's an octagon. It's a power generator in and of itself because it's an octagon.
Yep.
Right? And then you get down here, and I can't get any bigger, but you see there's all this terracotta here. And you see these big Tartarian doors, right? And this is a mud flood building too. Look at.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There's a person. Look how freaking big this building is. Look at the doors.
Yeah, I never noticed that before.
Yeah, this is mud flood. This building was living, this was a massive, those could have been 3 generators. Those could have been 3 Mercury generators. And then I don't remember the name of that technology, but the 3 balls, how the balls spin. Torsion something is the name of that technology. Yeah, that whole thing was a generator. And then this is interesting too, because this is also an octagon. So, I'm thinking that this structure here was part of the technology, because these 2 buildings were linked. These 2 buildings were Antiquitech operating together. This probably had a spire, or maybe even an obelisk on it, spiring up to catch more plasma. And they added whoever this is. I don't know why I keep thinking it's Davy Crockett. I don't know if I have my history straight. And then they would have added these plaques after the fact. But this was here, friends. And this was, because it's an octagon, this was part of the Antiquitech. It was, the catcher, it had a something on it. It had an obelisk or something on it. It might have had a big metal spire to catch plasma. And of course, well, yeah, this was a massive generator. And there would not have been a clock here. This would have been a cymatic generator. And these are all plasma catchers. Right?
Yep. I have this picture in my bathroom.
These, of course, these columns had they probably still do have probably spired copper and steel inside. These were batteries, generating batteries. So this would have been a positive and a negative pole, and you've got one on each side. Again, cymatic.
Hey, I wonder if that's why the Masons adopted the twin poles.
Well, that's a good thought. Tartarian doors. See? There's Antiquitech in here. There is metal in there. Using that.
And from what I know about the area, a couple blocks away is an old building that says German American Bank on it, which is no longer a German American Bank, but it was down the street from here.
Look at the scale of these. That's a person right there, guys. That's a fire hydrant. That's a person. That's a car. Just look at the scale.
Yeah, I should know who that is, but I don't.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
I did find some pictures of that building at night, though, the electric building.
Oh, well, maybe we'll see one. Now, earlier, we had one that was inside. You can see what I'm doing, right? You can see me moving through the pictures. I want to, there. That's inside of this building, right?
Yeah, show people the inside. If they thought the outside was spectacular with a gold dome, look at the inside.
So yeah, so let's just say, guys, this was not built to be a bank. Come on now. Really, this was not built to be a bank. This is all, look at these vaulted ceilings. This was all cymatic. This gold was here for a reason, not bling. It was for conductivity. The stone is probably fairly original. See, this is all. Arches are magnets. So there's steel in here, probably coiled steel and copper, going down into the masonry and grounding literally into the earth. This is a huge power generator. Of course, they added the bling here.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this building, and they added all this stuff.
It really,
but this is,
do you wonder why they don't build like that anymore, you know?
We don't know how. We didn't build it. We don't know how to build this. Do you know anything about this?
No, it's just a table of some sort, so you can write down your banking stuff.
No, but I mean this bowl.
Oh, I don't know what that bowl is. I've only been in that building once. My son really loves that building. That's why there's a photo of it in my bathroom. But he goes in there just to hang out.
To look at the picture. You're hilarious. Let's find some more mud flood.
No, he goes in the bank to hang out.
Oh, here's another. Okay, now in my video, I talked about in the music hall, the Hall of Music, where McKinley was shot. The reason that the fair ended up losing $3 million. Imagine $3 million in 1901. That was a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
They lost $3 million because, in large part, because McKinley was assassinated there. But the organ, which at the time in the Hall of Music was the largest organ in the United States, story goes, was in the Hall of Music. And when everything was torn down, it was brought here. This is the Klein House Music Hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is where the organ was brought to. What's this?
It's a church across the street.
Okay. But you see, this is so interesting how this is a music hall. It's, first of all, it's a cyclorama, which is a generator. And it's surrounded by water, which is even more of a generator. And next to it were 2 bell towers. If that's not Tartarian 101, I don't know what is. You've got a bell tower here, a bell tower here. You've got finials. And then you've got a cyclorama generator. Man, oh man. And then this church obviously has an organ because you've got a cymatic window right there. Okay.
You know, you drive around that building, you don't realize there's water there. It's weird. Because I've driven around that building for many, many years and I never realized there's water sitting there.
Oh, really? You can't see it from all angles?
I can't see it from the road.
Tell us about this building.
That's Buffalo City Hall, which is a really weird building.
Wow.
I can't stand that place.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it, but it's a bad place.
Well, this looks Nazi.
Yeah, I was going to say Nazi. When you didn't say it immediately, I was going to say Nazi.
Yeah.
Like Nazi.
Yeah, this was a very powerful building. And it looks evil has overtaken it.
I've been up there. My father took us up there. There's an observation deck, but they close it. I don't think it's open, but it's spectacular. You know, if anybody's listening and it's open, go to the Buffalo City Hall observation deck. It has a spectacular view of the lake. You can see the Niagara Falls.
Oh, no shit, really?
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of liability and observation deck.
It's indoors, though. It's not outdoors. It's indoors. But they close it. I don't know why they would close such a beautiful thing.
So Andrew and I were looking at photos before we started, and he didn't even know what this was. So I bet it's not here anymore. Who believes that's a bank, y'all? Who believes that somebody built that as a bank? Give me a break. That is not a bank. There would have been spires on top of all these cupolas. This isn't decorative, it's plasma collectors. This would have been open. There would have been bells in here. There's steel in there creating that battery effect. These are cymatic. And again, there's a person. Look at the doorways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a bank. Uh-huh. Sure.
Well, the thing I think about is you look at all these buildings, they all have them arches and them turrets and stuff.
Yeah.
Why would they bother to make them all like that if it wasn't functional?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So I'm gonna stop. Oh man, look at that. Sorry, I just saw that. Look at the roofing on this thing.
Yeah.
Look at all this Antiquitech.
That's a coin dealer owns that.
Yeah, right. It was built as a coin dealer. There would have been a spire up there. What happened here, man? There was a whole other layer here, Andrew.
Yeah.
There was probably a bell tower on top of here because this was a plasma collector. Like the gold on the top of that church is a crazy plasma collector. And then the gold inside. That house is mud flood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. This house was like living, this house was a self-sustaining, self-generating. There was a bell tower up here. See how it's flat? There was a bell tower up there.
It's made of Medina sandstone. See that brown stone?
Yeah.
Quartz. It's quartz.
Right. It's pure. It's a pure battery.
Yeah.
The whole building's a battery. Mm-hmm. So let me, there's so much. Let me stop my share. And why don't you jump in with your shares and I'll shut up and you talk.
All right. We got some photos of that electric building at night.
Oh, wow.
And it's spectacular at night. I've seen it at night in person. And it's just beautiful. This is the way they light it up most nights. Although they might have LGBTQ right now.
Oh, it is?
I don't know. I'm saying, how crazy they are.
It's all rainbow. But you see those, I can't, Mike, you won't see my cursor, but the middle layer and the bottom layer, wow, that's magnificent.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe they tore down a tower this beautiful at the fair. I mean,
it was bigger than that, I think.
What's wrong with these people?
Well, the sad thing is, the whole, if somebody watches the video, there's all kinds of information in there. Of course, I go for the dirtiest connections I can find, and that's what I talk about. But apparently the guy who wanted his land back, the guy who allowed the fair corporation to use his land to build the fair, no, the buildings were already there, wanted his land back so he could farm it. But in less than 2 years, it was sold and they started building houses there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what I think is he just was able to get his hands on all that property. And the demo was to get the stuff out of the way so it could be developed and make some real money off of it, because they didn't know how to use Antiquitech. They didn't know how to use this stuff. So it was just in the way. Oh, we can turn it into houses.
Yep. And it's funny how in the last show we figured out that all of the most expensive real estate in Buffalo was all around this, where the fair was.
Yes.
When they tore those buildings down, they put up the most expensive buildings in Buffalo for homes.
Well, right. And none of this stuff, none of these energy centers that they've built were just randomly built. I mean, there was a reason it was there. It was either a ley line grid situation. It might have been significant from an indigenous perspective. So there's a reason that that plot of land is significant and poignant. But I'll shut up now so you can talk about this.
This is the historical building. And I was pointing out to Joyce before we started the show that it has a sunken feature, which is really strange. I've noticed this for many years and wondered, why in the hell does this building have a weird thing? What if this was a moat, Joyce, and this was a water feature?
Well, it could. First of all, let me back up and just say that for people that don't know what they're looking at, the only surviving building from the Pan American 1901 fair is the building that was the New York State building, which is now the Buffalo Museum Society or something like that. And that's the building that we're looking at. This is all that remains of the fair. It's sitting on a man-made lake. So it's very enhanced. So yes, it very much could have been a water feature because that's a man-made lake. The water would have gone on up and surrounded it just like a star fort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the art museum was
wow, look at that. Oh, look at that sacred geometry right there. What is that copper-topped building?
That's the Albert Knox. I was going to bring that up next because it has a lot of weird features around it as well. Look at this wall. It has another wall, Joyce, just like the other building.
Well, just the fact that it's copper-topped, that whole building's a generator too.
Yeah.
And that fountain, look at the sacred geometry of the fountain in front of it.
Yep. This is left over from the exposition too.
Huh. It looks, well, it appears to be. It's not listed, but clearly it was.
Yeah.
Oh, and right on top, is that, reduce it a little bit so you can see.
Where, over here?
You just reduce it a little bit so you can see, oh, yeah, see that blue thing? Is that a spire? Straight up?
We're doing
straight
up. This thing?
Yeah.
Some kind of artwork. This is an art gallery,
so okay.
Some kind of artwork. They put them outside too.
But see these walls? There was water there too.
Huh?
There was water there too.
Yeah, look at the wall here too.
Yeah, if there's
and
water like that, yeah, there was water around this whole building. That's why it had a copper top.
Yeah, it's just like the other building. It's so weird.
Oh, man.
And see, there's a wall in front too. Look, it's not just in the back. It goes all the way around the building, Joyce.
Man, I would be back there looking in there at what they were digging up. I would so be there. And then there's a fountain in front of it where the cars are parked. Yeah.
No,
or the back. I guess it's the back. The other direction.
It's in the back.
Okay.
It's the park. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
there's that fountain right there. Yeah, that fountain right there.
Delaware Park is.
Wow. And then if you go more to the right, there's some more sacred geometry I saw. If you go like,
I think this building is left over too, Joyce. This boathouse. I think this is left over too.
Well, look at the roof.
The Hoyt Lake boathouse.
It is. It's just not listed, but clearly it is.
Well, yeah. Look at the roof.
Yeah.
They don't build with copper like that anymore.
No, these were all generators. And that's why they diverted the water to create this self-generating hydroelectric system. And see, that's what I want. See, look at that sacred geometry in the park. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where they.
Oh, and there's a copper-topped building there too. At like, at 3 o'clock. And there was something at 9 o'clock. Yeah, that's also, oh yeah.
They have Shakespeare in the park here.
Very interesting.
This is Hoyt Lake.
Hoyt Lake's so man-made. I mean, there might have been a natural body of water there, but look at that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they used this creek to make it.
What's the name of that creek?
Skajakwita Creek.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all. They created all that for the Antiquitech that those buildings were, the whole fair. Just imagine, all the generating that the fair could do and Niagara Falls. I mean, it probably powered Canada.
There's Larkin Field. Look at that. Larkin soap.
Yep.
And remember I told you, remember that old picture I told you I bought at a estate sale?
Yeah.
I bought it in this neighborhood right here on Bird Avenue.
Wow.
It was Bird Avenue. I bought it right here. And it's really close to the fair. I'm sure this was on the fairgrounds at one time. Because here's the Forest Lawn Cemetery across the street.
Okay. Okay.
So that's where that photo came from, right here. We paid $1 for it.
I didn't know.
They didn't look through the stuff. The family said sell it all, and they didn't know.
So where the State College sits now, that was part of the original fairgrounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, probably a whole bunch of those buildings are from the fair, but because it's on the State College building, they don't have to let you know. Oh my God, look at that organization of buildings.
And this is Richardson, the psych center.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, right here.
Richardson, the biggest scammer of them all. The Hotel Henry. Yeah, this old psych ward that supposedly Richardson and White built and was landscaped by Olmsted. Well, I'm sure it was landscaped by Olmsted. An insane asylum is now a luxury hotel.
I know. I was talking to people about it, and they didn't think nothing of it. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that. I still can't believe they did it after looking at it every day as a derelict building, you know, because I worked next to it. So I worked right here on the grounds. This is Buff State College.
Got all that sacred geometry. You know, if you were to look at old pictures, you would probably be able to figure out what those buildings were back in the day.
Yeah.
So Andrew, is it possible that that stadium is the stadium?
I don't know where that stadium was. It would have been over here somewhere.
Okay.
You know, looking at the old maps of the fair.
Yeah.
Stadium would have been over here.
Okay.
This is Delaware. So it's really weird, you know, that stadium looks just like one they had an ancient stadium. I was watching a show about Tartaria, and they showed a stadium that was exact duplicate of that. So it's like these people had to know something. You don't go
it was the Moors.
Yeah.
It was the Waukesha Moors. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Moorish people.
I wish I had a picture of that ancient stadium now. I should have saved that.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's a common it's a common design, common amphitheater. Do you have anything else that you want to show us of your pictures of downtown?
No, I don't really have anything else. Why don't you continue with some of your stuff?
Okay. I'll just go back to where I was. And let's just jump back here.
It's really strange about Buffalo because it was burned too in 1812.
Every Tartarian city was burned.
Just like Washington.
The interesting thing that I'm learning is to find out the architects that came in. Mm-hmm. You know, the show that I just did on Jekyll Island, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it yet.
I haven't seen it.
One of the architects, and I can't remember which home or building that he's attributed to in building, and I can't remember his name either. There were so many architects involved in Jekyll Island, holy cow.
Oh yeah.
He moved to Chicago a month before the fire. Isn't that convenient? You know, in my studies about reset architects, I'm seeing that. You know, the guy that's supposed to have rebuilt Jacksonville, Florida, which is north of me, the big city north of me. He was from I think he was from, well, he was in New York at the time. I don't think he was originally from New York, but Clutho was his name. And he was in New York at the time working with, he had trained with Wright, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Mm-hmm.
He moved to New York to start working. The 1901 fire happened in Jacksonville. And he was here less than a month later. And less than a month after he arrived, he had his first commission. He was 23. And he is the man responsible for rebuilding Jacksonville. So we're to be told. Give me a freaking break. Talk about reset. But anyway, I'll shut up. Is that a buffalo? That's a buffalo.
I think so.
Yeah. Do you recognize where that is?
I should. Is it the
I don't know.
The old post office?
I don't know.
Have you ever
when I go out, it'll say what it is. But see, this isn't just pretty. This is technology.
Mm-hmm.
These are all plasma cymatic collectors here. And each of these different bands, you see how the design on each band is different because cymatically it absorbs and then reflects different frequencies. Most of them are 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Most of them are 6 layers because you think it's generating the 6 solfeggio tones. So if the 6 solfeggio tones have a cymatic signature, that might be the repetition of what you see. And so these are all generating the 6 cymatic solfeggio frequencies. It's an arch. It would have gone all the way down to the bottom. Inside of here would have been coiled metal, as if you were making a battery. Coiled metal inside terracotta. What is that? That's a battery. These were all magnetic batteries. And this was really cool, but it wasn't just cool because you see this filigree here, up here. This was all part of that cymatic generation, and there's copper coils in all of these. So just think of all, besides the fact that it's beautiful, just all of this, there's a copper coil inside of all of these filigrees. Just consider all the magnetic electrical dynamic in all of this.
Yeah, I just think Fibonacci when I look at that.
Yeah, but see, absolutely, it's all Fibonacci. This was a very, very, very powerful building. But let's reduce that and let's see, because I think when we go back, I think it will tell me. Oh, it doesn't say. It just says Buffalo, New York.
And I'm not sure what kind of terracotta that is, but most terracotta is red. So I don't know what that was on that building.
Well, there's more of the sandstone-y kind too. And in some buildings like here, we've got an old chimney that supposedly was built by Flagler. Ha, 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 ha. Built by, the Reset architects here, Hastings and Carrere, the guys who were supposed to have built Penn Station. Ha, 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 ha. And a lot of the buildings on Flagler have alternating layers of the sandstone-y brick and the terracotta for the different absorption frequencies. Let's look at this, man. What's this? Is this City Hall? Yeah, that's
City Hall. It's a big building.
Is this the McKinley Spire? Okay, so this is the McKinley, what do you call it? Memorial. I can't remember who built that.
Somebody hit it with a car.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, and they killed their girlfriend. They didn't die, but they killed their girlfriend. How does that work out?
It looks like it's been through a lot of cleaning up. Yeah, this was a very powerful building that has become very evil. It just looks evil. Like my chest hurts just looking at it.
They got giant balls in front of it now too.
Really?
Yeah, they put them up for after 9/11.
Oh.
So nobody can run into the building. No, they got giant balls sitting there.
Okay, so guys, so when Andrew was showing us a picture of the water feature, this was the building. This was the building that was the New York State building at the Pan American, and now it's the Buffalo Historical Society, right?
Yes.
And you have a story of that sculpture of Lincoln in there.
Lincoln's in there, yeah. I always took my kids and got their picture in front of Lincoln. It's like the one in Washington, D.C. Excuse me.
So this is the building that he was showing us that's on that totally manufactured Hoyt Lake. And you can see all of these columns have spired copper and steel. And then there's probably a lead bar in there too. So these are all creating circuits with magnetics. So these are energy generators. And it's marble.
Yes.
Which is very conductive. And I don't know the story that's being told here, but this is also, it's a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be steel in here too, metal of some sort. And then you've got terracotta bricks on top, roof tiles. So you're collecting energy, it's holding the solar energy. You've got all this conduction going on. Those are pretty big doors, huh?
Yeah. I have a book from their one of their meetings from the 1870s, the Historical Society.
Oh.
It lists everybody in the meeting and stuff.
Big Tartarian doors. Let's find a real good mud flood building. Help me see one.
The post office is the old post office in Buffalo is a good one to look at. That building is amazing. Bring that up.
Holy cow. Oh, that's that bank.
Yeah.
Well, this is a mud flood building right here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Duh. Like, who puts windows on the ground floor? This is all energy generation right here. Mud flood, liquefaction. See, again, we've got the 6 layers.
Mm-hmm.
So each is going to have a different cymatic signature. There would have been an organ inside. I'm sure there was an organ inside. When you see these 6 layered arches,
Mm-hmm.
this was a big cymatic generator. And so there would have been a cymatic thing here. And, you know, this would have been all open because these people were much taller than we are. And yeah, so the sound would have come out through these 6 layers and bounce off of those layers and just be sending those healing solfeggio tones.
I had a dream that I was getting some kind of healing from old church organ. And
yeah.
a really strange dream because in the dream it was no sound or anything in a dream, but I was in this building with this organ in it and it was vibrating. And I didn't realize what it was until I recalled the dream later after I woke up. And I thought it had to be a dream about receiving healing from an organ or something like that. Weird.
Well, there was something going on. You might have been getting healing in your sleep.
Might have.
So in case people don't understand what we're talking about when we say mud floods, this is not the ground level of this building. This might be the ground level of the building. It's the ground level of the building is submerged. It might be the 2nd floor. It might not even be the ground floor. That's why they had to build the steps up to it, because this was not the entrance. There might be 2 or more layers built underneath, which is what Andrew was talking about when he showed the retention wall and steps around the back of the Buffalo Historical Building. So anytime you guys see windows that are like, that's not a whole window, you know, I mean, look at, that's a whole window. That's not even half a window. there's more than half of that window, and then the ground underneath it is underground. It's all been buried in mud and dug out. And the people that are attributed with building it, they didn't found it, built stairs and all this stupid stuff, but they didn't. Oh, is this, what's this? Delaware
I've never
Baptist.
seen that before.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at the organ.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh. So guys, when this was a working, they were healing hospitals. They were sound energy hospitals. There would not have been any glass in here. If there was anything, there might have been like steel shapes to form cymatic patterns, but there wouldn't have been glass like we see it. Now, there could have been something that was orchestrated in a sacred geometry pattern, a cymatic pattern, but it would have been open because the whole point is the sound needed to come out. But look at the organ. Did you even know that organ was there?
No, and Delaware has some of the other expensive homes in Buffalo. Some of them are madly expensive.
So this is up in that expensive part that is the old fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, look, that's from the fair. Well, that's the Hall of Music.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from the fair. This was all torn down. That's the old Hall of Music. So see, these were all cymatic generators. There would have not have been any glass in any of these because the sound from what was the largest organ in the country at the time, which by the way, was disassembled, put in a barn and sold for scrap in 1942 for $146, the largest organ in the country. There wouldn't have been glass in here. And then this dome, it would have been open so the sound could come out. But these are all plasma collectors. And these over here, I don't remember what building that is, but looks surprisingly like a building here that Carrera and Hastings are supposed to have built. It looks like a lot like the Alcazar Hotel.
Yeah.
There would have been mercury balls in here. And I think something like this, this would have been where that 3-ball technology would have been. Mm-hmm. Red mercury up here. See, these are all finials for collecting plasma.
There's no flags on them.
Yeah, they weren't flagpoles. See, now this fountain was here, obviously. I can believe that some of the statues that were at the fair were crafted by, I can't remember his name now, the man who was supposed to have been the sculptor. But this fountain was here. He did not build that fountain. I can't remember the lead sculptor's name.
It's spectacular. I mean, look at it.
Well, see, it's technology for the water to fall over those layers. Each fall creates a different tone. When it falls like this, it's creating different tones. You're activating the water. All that breaking the water activates more hydrogen. So you're creating living water. You're creating electrical, plasmatic water. That's the whole point of fountains and steps and things and surfaces for the water to break, which was part of what the starports were for. There would be surrounded by different tiers of moats with these big severe star points sticking into the water, and the water would break against those 90-degree angles and it would activate the hydrogen items and make the water more living, more plasma rich. I know you know that, but I'm just running my mouth because not everybody that watches might know about that. You can tell me to shut up and start talking anytime because I just keep going.
You know so much about it. I really just started studying it not that long ago, a couple months ago, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here's another picture of the building that Andrew showed us. So yeah, so this is that, it was the New York building. So So this is what do they call this? Do they call this the reflecting pool?
It is a reflecting pool in front of the Historical Society with the Japanese garden.
Yeah, so to the right of here is what's left of the Japanese gardens. And the Japanese gardens at the fair was a huge exhibit because there was a whole portion of it that was like a bamboo village that was built out of bamboo with like no nails or screws or anything. It was built like primitive bamboo. But there you can kind of see what's left of the Japanese gardens there. And yeah, right there. Look at that. And so this is all man-made. And what Andrew was saying, but I keep talking so I don't let my poor darling speak, is this had layers of water features around it. Wonder what's inside. When you go inside, what's it look like inside?
It's absolutely spectacular, Joyce. It's solid marble, floors, walls, and ceilings.
Well, these are all magnets, which if there's water around, that's going to create, and it was surrounded with water. So you've got energy generation. See, they've done something to the windows here. You see, look at that. I wonder what was there before. They might have originally they just might have been open. See, and you can tell there was a water feature here. Look at that.
Yeah.
See how it's terraced?
And it's weird. A few hundred feet from there, I can't remember when, but about 10 or 20 years ago, they caught a caiman in that creek, Skajekwood Creek. They caught, you know what a caiman is?
Yes.
They caught a caiman in Skajekwood.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am.
How could it have lived?
I don't know.
It must have been summer.
They caught it wild, yeah.
Here's another angle of that water feature. Is that Lincoln too? Oh yeah, it is Lincoln, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yeah, see, you can see this is all mud flooded. Well, it's not mud flooded. It had water features. It had layers of water around it, which would have added to the electrical power. You're gonna look at that so differently. I swear to God, you should go down there with your phone or a camera and just really start looking at this stuff.
Yeah, I got to get a camera. I had a but it stopped working.
Buffalo History Museum, that's it, right? This is inside?
Oh, it's beautiful. Gorgeous building inside.
Oh okay. God. No, that's not water.
And they have one of their exhibits is my father's bottles that he dug up.
Oh yeah, tell everybody about that.
When they were building Route 190 downtown Buffalo, my father lived nearby, and he saw a whole bunch of bottles as they dug the ground for the roadway. They left all these bottles laying there, and he collected them up and he sold them to the Historical Society for $100. And I wrote to them in the 90s, and they told me that is the most spectacular collection of bottles from the Erie Canal in the Hall of New York State. Oh. And they're super proud of it.
Do you know what this is, my friend?
What is that?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
That doesn't ring a bell with me.
Man, I wonder if that's in one of those crazy huge, like one of those banks. Cough, cough. Holy cow! What is this? Some kind of industry. Oh my God! What is that?
It's a big building. Oh, I don't know what that is.
Some kind of industry.
It's on the waterfront.
Yeah. Well, it said Buffalo's demolished buildings.
Yeah. There's a building like that down there, though, on the right part of it. Not the left part, but the right part. There's a train building downtown Buffalo along the water like that. It's part of the train system in Buffalo, the subway.
Oh, you have a subway there. Where are these?
That's the Liberty building. Those are
like Liberty Mutual?
No, those are Liberty statues. That's the Liberty building in downtown Buffalo. And it has two statues of Liberty on top. I know it's the Liberty building. I've been in it.
Well, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. It's one of the bigger buildings downtown, and I always used it as a landmark to see where I was, you know. I really did a lot of driving downtown years ago.
This looks mud flooded. Yep, see, look.
Mm-hmm.
You guys see how there's a window right here? There's a whole, at least one whole layer, at
That's
least half a layer.
I know this building. It's in Niagara Street.
And see, these were open.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so this building was smart, you know, it was self-sustaining. These were all free energy generators, and all of the masonry and brick that was chosen was part of the free energy perpetuation system. You see how big the doors were and how little they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And you see you had to step up to the doors, because you see that window, half of a whole floor is underground. It's all mud flooded. See, and when you see this, it's a magnet. A magnet, like how you use a magnet. You can use a magnet and copper wires, and you can create a battery, essentially. And these were free energy sustaining buildings. Look at, this is all a magnet.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a weird Masonic building on the east side of, or the south side of Buffalo, that has a sunken aspect to it. I've been in it, and it's a really weird building. It's a Masonic hall.
Of course, the Masonic hall is weird.
But it's an auction house. Somebody lives there as an auction house. I don't know. Masonic hall. The place gives me the creeps.
Oh.
But it has a weird sunken aspect to it. You know, the ground level, when you go in the building, you end up being below ground, and it's really weird. Joyce, I've been in there building several times, and it gives me a creep.
What is this, Andrew?
I don't know. It looks like a castle, don't it?
Well, it's an octagon.
Yeah.
It's an octagon on top of an octagon. Yeah. So it has a cymatic chamber behind the stake sign.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bell in here, and that's a plasma collector. These are plasma collectors. Yeah, this was a bell tower. And it's an octagon bell tower, so it was more magnetic. And then look at the roofs. See, they're real severe. This was a very powerful building, man. And all this stuff, all this Moorish architecture trim here, this was all plasma collection, and this is all terracotta, all collecting free energy.
You know, the Buffalo Lighthouse is a weird building too. They used to let me play in there when I was a kid, but they don't
really.
Yeah, they don't let people in there now. But my dad was in the Coast Guard, so it's on the Coast Guard base. He always took me there. We used to eat dinner with them and play pool with them, and they used to let me run around in the Buffalo Lighthouse. So I wonder about that building, how it was originally powered, because they took it all apart. You know.
It's disassembled.
They didn't leave anything the way it was. You know, they had to modernize everything.
Well, of course, because they didn't know how to use it. Is this still standing?
That looks like the central terminal. Yeah,
that's what it said. Yeah,
that's the central terminal. Yeah, that's still standing. The ghost like to go there.
That had many layers on top.
Probably
it did. I can tell you.
I got a story about this building. Someone told me that their father was a cab driver in the 30s. And he used to hear stories about mobsters coming in on a train to Buffalo and then getting whacked. And they'd leave the train station in the back of a yellow cab, and nobody would see him in the trunk.
Oh my gosh.
So that building was used as a hit station for the mob.
Really?
Yeah, the central terminal. It's haunted as hell, Joyce. Haunted as hell. There's a ghost show that used to come there every year to do specials from the Buffalo terminal.
I love that. You should do a show about that.
Well, they murdered people there. I guess it's haunted as hell, right?
Yeah. So this is all Antiquitech too.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Do you know where this is?
It looks like Buffalo City Hall.
Oh.
Yeah, that's City Hall.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's a very powerful building.
It is. Ooh. It's creepy too.
It makes my throat hurt when I look at the pictures. Wow. Oh, this is an old theater.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder where that is.
Louche collector, louche collector.
Mm-hmm. I have an old book on architecture, and in this book that I have, it was put out every building you would need to make a town, Joyce, and that's the Lafayette Hotel.
It's mud flood building. Look how the
Mhm.
street curves. Is that right? The street goes down.
Yeah, there's this.
Yeah, it's mud flood.
There's a hill there.
See how you have to step up to everything? It's
Mm-hmm.
mud flood. There's at least one whole layer that's underground.
Mm-hmm.
Keep talking. I'm
Across
sorry. You
the
were saying
street is
something.
the Kleinhans building. My son has this.
Oh, the Kleinhans building is where the organ went.
Yeah, my son has the signs from that building that say Kleinhans on them. The brass plaques. He collected them. I think they're cool. I have a collection of 250 Kleinhans Windows photos from the 30s. They are spectacular, Joyce. I could show you guys one.
Yeah.
Keep going
What
through.
that? Wait a minute. What the hell?
This is the
Claremont
Red
House?
Cross. This is the Red Cross on Delaware Avenue.
This is the Red Cross.
This is the Red Cross.
Bullshit.
It is. I used to go there and pick up blood.
I'm not saying that you're lying, but we know the Red Cross didn't build this. And these are radium chimneys.
Mhm.
So there were fireless fireplaces in here. These are radium chimneys.
Mhm.
They look different than fire chimneys. There was an organ or something in here. This is an acoustic alcove. There was an organ right here. Whenever you see this in a church or other building,
Mhm.
and there was a water feature.
Yeah.
It was surrounded by water.
I was going to say, look at the wall. It's just like them other old buildings.
Yeah, and it's that like that limestoney terracotta. Look at all the fireplaces and realize this was radium. This is not fire burning. This is not a wood. These are not wood burning fireplaces. Oh my God. And these were magnets. So two magnets, one had a negative charge, one had a positive charge. That was an electrical current right there. That was an electrical current right there. There was an organ here. It was surrounded by a water feature. And it's got a copper roof because it's green. What a magnet that was. Okay, you show your pictures now.
I forgot what I was talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry, I talked too much.
It's all right.
Because I saw that. I'm like, what is that? You said you had a picture of something. Just show some pictures. Because you can talk. I'm just talking and looking at Tartarian stuff.
I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, just pull up some pictures that you know. You can change the subject. Pull up some pictures of Buffalo that you know. Because
Okay.
it's more interesting when it comes from you than me, because I'm just talking about stuff that I read and learn, but you're talking about stuff that you've grown up with and you know. So what you say is way more interesting than comes out of my mouth. You're talking about it from experience. You remember. That's way more important than things you read.
Well, I live next to a brick factory, which is now a terracotta factory. And I found a whole bunch of bricks in the creek. And I couldn't figure out why I was finding all these bricks in the creek. And then it finally dawned on me they dumped their broken ones in there because they didn't want to deal with them. So I found this guy online that collected bricks, and he had a brick museum, and he wanted my bricks really bad.
A brick museum?
Yeah, he has a brick museum.
What does that mean?
I don't know. He studies bricks, and he wanted my bricks really bad because they're local bricks, and he was but he said his wife got sick, and I never went to his house to see his brick factory or museum. I wanted to see his museum.
I guess like how the technology has changed over time, or like chemically, how the iron is different from different parts of the country, right? Interesting.
These are solid red bricks. So they got to be the same kind that they used to make buildings in Buffalo, because this factory's been here for over 100 years, but now it makes terracotta. It's Boston Philly terracotta.
I tell you what, the building's older than that, because a factory that's a masonry factory, we didn't build it. It was there.
Oh yeah, the factory was there a long time.
Yeah. And the Moorish people that built all this used brick and masonry. Why don't you, do you have that picture of the L. Frank Baum building?
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about that? That's fascinating.
I have it right here. It's the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz.
But so tell everybody about that and that whole craft movement.
It's right
see,
here.
This is the kind of stuff that is so much more interesting than what I spit out of my mouth, because I'm just accumulating things I read, but you know this stuff from living it, so much better.
I found it. I'm waiting for it to upload to my page.
We almost didn't get Andrew tonight, guys, because he's fighting with, I'm not going to say the carrier. They're making his life miserable. And he called me and he goes, I can't log on. My internet doesn't work. And then he was able to log in like a half an hour later. So I'm happy you're here, my friend.
Yeah, they delivered a internet booster, a signal booster to me and threw it on my porch in a place I couldn't see it. It was sitting out there in the rain for 2 days.
I don't think it's going to load. I hope your internet's not messing with you again.
I pay for the most expensive internet Verizon has, and it doesn't work.
Oh.
I pay $90 a month just for internet. Oh, it's not loading.
It's not going to load.
I'm sorry. I would probably have to try my picture viewer. Let me try that real quick.
Or just something really interesting like that you can, I mean, I didn't know about until you showed me that just a few weeks ago. That's the first I found out about that.
Yeah,
so that's really interesting.
Most people have no idea it's there.
I didn't know. I didn't know that whole interaction with Baum and who's the Larkin guy? What's his name?
Elbert Hubbard.
Elbert Hubbard and that whole movement, that whole craft movement.
The Roycrofters.
Roycrofters. Well, that's okay. Why don't you just talk about that? Maybe I can find a picture to pull up and while you're doing that. Let me see.
The Roycrofters were born out of the Larkin Soap Company by Elbert Hubbard, who was married to one of the soap people, the Larkins. And it became a really popular movement. Here's the picture right here.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah. Should be able to see it. There it is.
No.
Not working?
No, I'm still seeing it.
Let me
try again. Yeah. Maybe had to unshare and then reshare.
I got to go in advanced. Can you see it now?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the picture. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the Cowardly Lion by Frank Baum. This is a building in East Aurora, New York. And like I was saying, the Roycroft movement came out of that, which was a back to nature, like Bauhaus or something like that. What else was
Bauhaus wasn't back to nature.
It wasn't?
No, no, that was Weimar, Germany. You're talking about like transcendentalism. That was back to nature. I was just talking about that in my last video. The guy who landscaped Jekyll Island was a transcendentalist.
Yeah, Bauhaus was industrial. I misspoke.
Yeah, that was Weimar, Germany. Yeah, very much so.
But this was a back to nature movement, and
God, I love that.
If you could find anything by him with Roycroft on it, wow. But his pieces weren't marked, I guess.
But then there's so much distress on the facade here. Like, what else was here? Or is this just all distress? See how like there's 3 indentations above each Moorish window?
You know, the strange thing about the Roycroft movement, Joyce, part of it burned down.
Well, of course it did. Of course it did. Well, this building was here and they inherited it and they reset it. They didn't build this. They didn't build this. They inherited it and they redid the facade.
You can see the Cowardly Lion, though.
Well, yeah, they did that. But I'm telling you, they didn't build that building because of the Moorish windows that would not have had glass in them. No, but they adorned it. Yeah, but you see, yeah. Oh, I see now. It's fleur-de-lis. That's what it is. When you zoom in, I can see it's fleur-de-lis above. So again, that's
fleur-de-lis. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the photo.
it's part of the energy generation
Mm-hmm.
for the plasma collection. And they added the beautiful terracotta, and then they would have gone over the top of it with whatever that stucco product is.
Mm-hmm.
But so tell people, so the movement was like kind of like back to nature transcendentalism, but was it copper? They were copper.
Yeah, they worked in copper. They made books, and Albert Hubbard died on the Lusitania. They got him with a German torpedo.
And he was the man who owned Larkin Soap.
No,
I got
he worked for them and married one of the daughters.
Albert.
Yeah, Albert. And
I
he
gotta
left,
write this down.
left. He was
Albert
like an
Hubbard.
executive. He left
I
the company.
forgot he died on the Lusitania.
Yeah.
A subscriber, I'm already starting the next one because a subscriber told me to look into something. But so he worked at Larkin, and he was the Roycroft. Okay, I got to look at that next. You said Lusitania. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah. That started World War I.
Yep.
When he died. Yeah. So that was a big deal in history, right?
Well, yeah. Kind of like, big boats sink and the world changes. Look what happened when the Titanic sank. We got the Federal Reserve.
The Lusitania actually blew up because it had war stuff on it. It had munitions on it. So
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, and the Germans told people, they put an ad in the paper. They said, "Don't ride on the Lusitania. They're carrying munitions."
Oh my God.
And Albert Hubbard should have known better, but he was going to Europe. It's a strange story, really, when you dig into it.
Well, I'm going to have to now. I'm glad I wrote it down. I've probably written it down 15 times, but you realize I have paper everywhere because I have these conversations and I read something, I go, oh, and I make notes, and then it turns into something else.
Yeah, actual Roycroft stuff is exceedingly rare. If any of you folks want to collect it, good luck. I have one piece of Roycroft copper. I've lived in Buffalo 62 years, and I've only seen one piece, and I bought it.
Is it copper or brass?
It's copper. It's copper. It's beautiful. It's hand-hammered copper.
Mm. Yeah, it was like a business card, secretary desk thing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I have it right here. I can get it.
Okay, cool.
I think it's really awesome. It has 3 pen holders on it. And I'll stop share so people can see it.
That building's so beautiful. And what is the name of that actual building?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I will try to get more pictures of it and let everyone know what it is when I get a video camera.
I totally want you to go down to the old fair site and start taking pictures, because now you know what to look for. I'll shut up. Yeah, that's beautiful.
This is it here. It's called a desk set. Let me stop the background.
Yeah, it's too close.
Let me stop the background. Okay. Should be able to see it. No, it didn't stop. I thought I stopped it. Darn it all. Let's see. Background effects.
Or can you just hold it in a better angle to your light source?
All right, I picked none.
Okay.
They should see it now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's all hand hammered, and you can see it's still copper colored. It didn't turn green or anything.
Yeah, you can see the hammer marks. It's really beautiful.
It's really.
Are you sure it's not brass? I think it's brass.
No, this is copper.
Okay. Gorgeous.
And their mark is on the bottom here. I don't know if it's going to. There it is.
Yeah, it showed.
That's the Roycroft. That's the Roycroft mark, folks, right there. If you see that on something, buy it.
That's quite a sigil.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It looks like the Nabisco thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to look into that. All right.
But they're things that, like I said, they're very substantially made. I mean, for being over 100 years old, it's absolutely beautiful piece of workmanship. You know what I mean? I bought this
Yeah.
lady down the road. Her mom collected it. So it's really hard to find. They do make modern Roycroft, so you can find new Roycroft, but it's only people working with the authorization of Roycroft.
Oh, okay. They're protecting it.
Yeah, the original movement went out of business.
Okay. Yeah, I might do the next show on that. I mean, right now I'm working on a show. A subscriber pointed me to a park in Milwaukee, and that's all I'm going to say. So, hey, you know who you are, Skip. So I'm going to look at that next. But yeah, I definitely want to look into that and all that.
My
And
son
you
did
and I
find
might.
my son found a Roycroft bracelet in Goodwill from the 70s.
Holy cow!
But it was still a great snag because it's sterling
Yeah.
silver and it has their mark on it.
Oh, it was silver. So they worked in several metals.
50 cents he paid for it.
They didn't know.
He still owns it. He's so proud of it.
So I'm gonna send you this video too, so you can share it on your own. Do you want to wrap up the show with a little news tidbit that your subscribers would like?
Oh, check out all my shows, guys. I'm on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, as long as they allow it. I have 2 strikes over there, man. I'm on thin ice.
Don't go back to YouTube. I'm on YouTube because I'm not important enough. You have way more subscribers than me. But is there anything that you want to actually share before we go? Do you want to go to your Twitter or your Weemy or something for a minute and talk about something? Did you get to upload your last video after you were having all that trouble?
Yes, I didn't get it all uploaded everywhere, but I will soon. Here, I can show everybody my latest video. It's right
Or
here.
give us a little tidbit,
It's
a
right
little
here.
piece of news.
All right, I'll let me screen share so you guys can see it.
Because your subscribers like your news more than my running my mouth of, history and stuff. You can always tell Andrew's videos because he uses that Tiffany blue.
Yep. I hope everybody likes
Pompeo.
We lied, we cheated, we stole. I think they're just trying to wake people up. This is why I used it to start my show.
I think there's a lot of that going on.
Yep, and JFK Jr. is doing a lot of that as much as he can.
And aren't you going? You're going somewhere. You're interviewing somebody really significant coming up, aren't you?
Yeah, President Trump's photographer, Gene Ho.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, I have an opportunity to meet with him in person and do a personal interview in August, but he invited me to go to Virginia Beach, which I'm considering. So I might
That's where he lives, right? Is Virginia Beach.
I have no idea, but
I thought he was running for mayor or something at Virginia Beach.
There's a Clay Clark thing there. So that's where I would meet him.
Cool. Oh, cool. Okay.
But it all depends on whether I have the money or not. So I'm not viewers for money or anything like that. So I want to go to meet him in July, but the problem is it's right around my birthday. So I would have to leave on my birthday or the day before my birthday and spend my birthday traveling. So I'm not sure I want to do that, but I might.
I understand.
I might, because I want to get that story. I want to get a second person who confirms JFK Jr.
Well, just since you have an opportunity to meet him in some way, at least do a Zoom if you can.
Well, he's too busy for that. He said the only way I'm going to meet him is at one of these events.
Oh, okay. Okay. I get it. He probably gets requests all the time.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. But guys, see, that's Andrew's channel on Rumble right there. Andrew Zebrun the third, one word. And he's freaking everywhere. He's on Twitter. He's on BitChute. I just like a month ago discovered you were on BitChute. I didn't even know. And I think I found that out because you had shared your BitChute channel on your Telegram, I think, and that's how I found out. I'm like, dang, dude, he's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I was using Rumble till they started taking my videos down.
That's because you talk about stuff that shakes people up.
Yeah, well, I still use Rumble, but I used to promote Rumble, but I promote BitChute now.
Mm.
They haven't taken one thing down yet.
And Blue Water shared our video. This is very cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So I think we've gone like an hour and a half. Is that, I think, at least an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so I think I'm going to wrap it up. And so thank you, my friend. That was fun. It was totally unscripted, totally spontaneous, just kind of wandering around Buffalo with you.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Joyce. It was a ton of fun.
I like this. We have to do this. We have to do this every week.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do this every week. And I can't wait. I don't know if you've seen my Jekyll Island video, but I'd love to do another after with you, like we did an after for the Buffalo video. I'd love you to look at my Jekyll Island video. And then after you do, talk about that, because guys, Andrew has remote viewed Jekyll Island.
Yeah, don't do it, guys. Don't ever remote view something like that.
And I found out some very unpleasant things about what's underneath the buildings on Jekyll Island, which was totally confirmed by Andrew's remote view. So, so we've kept you guys long enough. This is going to be raw. I'm not going to edit it at all. I'm just going to put it up because that's how Andrew and I are, which is kind of raw. Having fun. Rumble, BitChute, Telegram, Twitter, MeWe. You're on places I don't even know.
Oh yeah, I'm everywhere.
And it's Andrew Zebrun the third everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we even did a tarot reading before we started and gave him some good news.
Oh yeah, thank you, Joyce. That was amazing. Stay tuned, guys. I might have some very important news.
So thank you, my friend. I can't wait to watch that Pompeo video. I'll watch that on my tablet while I upload this. And I'll talk to you soon. And thank you guys for hanging out with us on this Friday night. We appreciate you very much. And we'll both see you soon.
Bye. Love you all.